Hi, this is Rick Warren, and you're watching Facets Television.
Welcome, I'm Kevin McDonald. You're watching Facets Television, and with me tonight is Craig Freisen. He is a sergeant with the Anaheim Police Department and with the Vice Squad. We are going to be talking about the problem of human trafficking, and specifically in the city of Anaheim. Thank you so much for coming in today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So listen, I mean, we know that human trafficking has been quite the subject lately, but I also understand that Anaheim has received a pretty significant grant. Give me a little bit of an idea of how much of a problem it is specifically in the city of Anaheim.
We focus most of our attention on domestic sex trafficking, because what you have to really do is define human trafficking for what the demographics are of the city that you live or work in. For us in Anaheim, we've defined it as domestic sex trafficking, and what that is really pimping and prostitution. Pimps that bring underage girls and force them to work as prostitutes on our streets and advertise on the internet to provide services to people that are within Anaheim and within Orange County in general.
So I don't want to let that gloss over. We're talking about underage girls, and for those the folks that watch our program, we've done several programs on this, and we've worked with groups like Children of Light and Van Nuys, and this goes all the way down to girls as young as 8, 10, 11 years old. So this is an extreme problem. In Anaheim, how significant is the problem? It's
very significant. Significant enough that myself and my 5 investigators that work in the Vice Detail, we focus 100% of our time on human trafficking issues. We've seen girls as young as 14 in my unit. Statistics will show that girls are forced into this life between the age of 12 and 14. So when you put that in perspective, that a 12-year-old is normally entering 7th grade, it really puts the plight of these young girls into perspective, and shows that our efforts are focused on the right target here in Anaheim. So what is the driving force behind the grant? What's the intent of the department, and what do you seek to do with that money? The grant is issued to us by the BJA and OVC. It's a federal grant. It's for 2 years, and what it is it's called the Enhanced Collaborative Grant. And what it does is we have partnered with Community Services Programs Incorporated, which is a victim services provider here in Orange County, as well as the Huntington Beach Police Department, to work a collaborative approach to solving human trafficking issues in Orange County. So our goal is to raise awareness. We're going to be providing community trainings as well as training local law enforcement. And then we're also going to be branching out to non-governmental agencies as well as faith-based organizations to try and get them involved in raising the awareness of human trafficking. There's a proposition on the ballot now that will hopefully enhance the sentencing for human trafficking offenses. So our goal at Anaheim PD and Huntington Beach PD is to raise awareness of human trafficking throughout Orange County, and then grow the membership of the Orange County Human Trafficking Task Force, which our department and Huntington Beach Police Department are part of. So I'm familiar with working with them, with Orange County Crime Stoppers and Crime Survivors both. So, correct.
So the Human Trafficking Task Force has been a significant part of Orange County for quite a while. What do you find is your biggest challenge in fighting it? I know that having worked with the teen prostitute rescue groups myself directly, and actually having interviewed some of the girls and boys in particular, getting them to speak up is a problem. One of the challenges I've heard of in the new proposition is that they believe that it may actually cause a cooperation problem with some of the kids themselves, because it enhances the crime for them as well. Do you see that to be an issue at all?
I don't see it being an issue for the people we come in contact with. What we've done at Anaheim is change our approach to a very victim-centered approach. The girls that we come in contact with, or the young women we come in contact with, we refer to them as victims because they really are the victims of violent abuse at the hands of their traffickers or their pimps.
Right.
So the main problem we come in contact with is changing the perception that prostitution or human trafficking is a victimless crime. A lot of people have the belief that women in prostitution get into that line of work and they get addicted to the lifestyle and they're in it because they want to be in it. What we've found is contrary to that. That the women that we come in contact with are forced into this. Their traffickers and their pimps are very abusive. They're predatory in nature. So our main goal is to change the perception, because once you come in contact with the women that we do and you hear their story, you hear that they come from a history of abuse, you hear that they come from oftentimes they come from group homes, and they've just been kind of thrown about in society with no one to act as either a father figure or a mother figure for them. So that's where we step in through our task force and through the use of our 2 full-time advocates in my detail to really just offer services to help them change their lives. And whether they want to cooperate with us to prosecute the people that have put them into this position, it obviously helps us. But whether they want to or not, we still make our advocate services available to them, because what we're really trying to do is affect this problem one life at a time.
I think this is a really important point that you make, and that is that the majority of these girls do come from a broken situation, a broken home, and that Dr. Lois Lee made a point that when you've been sexually abused already, many of the pimps will use that to say, well, you've already been raped or you've already been abused, so you may as well sell it. And that's one of the arguments. That I know also that many of the girls are told, I'll kill your little sister, or I'll kill your mom or your dad. So there are other threats of abuse that go beyond their own personal.
Correct.
How often do you find that?
We see it a lot, because the misperception is that a pimp doesn't contact a young girl that they're going to make work on a Monday and have them out on the street on a Tuesday. There's a honeymoon phase where they portray themselves as either a father figure or a boyfriend figure. They spend money on them, they throw gifts at them, and they develop a bond of trust there. And then what they'll do is they'll kind of pull the carpet out from under their feet and say, you know what, we don't have any more money. If you really love me, or if you want to do things for me, you'll go out and you'll do these acts of prostitution, and you only have to do them for a little bit of time until we get money and we'll be back on our feet, and then you can stop. And the sad thing is that once they get them to do one, it's hard to get them out of that lifestyle, and that's where we step in, and my investigators just do a phenomenal job of developing trust with the women that we come in contact with, because we have about 3 to 5 minutes to gain their trust and really get them to understand that we're not after them. We're after the people that are making them do this. We're after the people that are really the serious offenders, because for years law enforcement has looked at the prostitutes themselves as the suspect in prostitution problems. They're really the victims, because they're the ones that are forced out to do all the work, and the way we equate it to is modern day slavery. It's these pimps own these girls, they force them out into the streets to do work, and then they take all the money for the work that they do.
Yeah, and they don't even often have the freedom or the resources to move away or to take care of themselves without that resource.
Yeah, and that's done by the pimps, because they know if they don't have any means to provide themselves shelter, if they don't have any family members to come in contact with, they take them to a city that's unfamiliar to them, and then the pimp knows that regardless of how I treat them, I'm the only means of support that they have. So that's how the girls really end up in kind of a cycle of abuse that mirrors domestic violence, where they feel trapped, but even though they're being abused and they feel trapped, at least they're getting the bare minimum that they need to survive. So.
Right, and it is probably in many cases the only source of any sense of attachment or love they've ever had, which is another problem.
Correct. And
it may be wrong and it may be twisted, but...
Correct. It's still viewed as a family source for them. So that's where our advocates come in. And in our task force, Huntington Beach PD and Anaheim PD, we're the enforcement side of the task force. We're the ones that are supposed to go out there and find the pimps, bring them to justice, and present a case to the district attorney for filing. When the case is finished, our work is really done. That's where our advocates step in and really do the heavy lifting. That's why when we first started this and I found out we'd be working with CSP, I was ecstatic, because they're just a top-notch organization, and the time and commitment that our advocates put in to our helping our victims change their life is and a lot of it is behind the scenes work. Like, we get a lot of the accolades because we make the arrest and we're the ones that everybody focuses on, but our advocates on a daily basis are doing all the heavy lifting to really change the lives of the people we come in contact with.
So you guys are getting the front end heroics, but the recovery is happening on the back end.
Correct. We, the minute, like I said, the minute we're done with our criminal case, we move on to the next one, and we're looking to present another successful case. But our advocates just put in a ton of work, as well as my investigators. My investigators are fielding phone calls on their off days with their family from our victims, just trying to offer support, and it's really a 24-hour-a-day commitment that my guys have all dove in head first and said that they're committed to it, because it's really, in law enforcement, you kind of look for that one assignment that you look back on when you retire and say, hey, those were the good times of my career, and this is it for all of us.
And I know, like I said, I've been involved in this for about 15 years myself, and it doesn't go away. It's something that stays with you, and you go back to your normal daily job, but it is hard to deal with, and you do remember those cases where hopefully you did something right.
Yeah.
And I'm not law enforcement myself, but you hope to have done something right to help somebody. CSP, how does that program work? Because I do know this is an not-for-profit, so those that are out there that may want to support the CSP program, what is CSP for those that need to know more about it?
CSP is, they provide 2 full-time victim advocates to our department. One is stationed at the CSP office in Santa Ana, and one is actually stationed at a desk in the Anaheim Police Department. What it does is their position through our grant is funded by monies provided by the federal government that helps defer the cost for salary for CSP, because they are a nonprofit. People that are interested in getting involved can go to the Orange County Human Trafficking Task Force. We have monthly general meetings where citizens and law enforcement, we get together and we talk about current trends and cases that we're working and opportunities to provide assistance to the victims we come in contact with. So you can find that information on our website, or you can call CSP directly and look to get involved. They have a volunteer coordinator that I always say can sell ice to an Eskimo. I don't know how she gets people involved, but whenever we need volunteers, we get them.
Yeah, I've been to several of those meetings over the years.
Yeah, CSP is just
large attendance.
Yeah, they're the victim service provider for all of Orange County, and they do an excellent job. They're entrenched in our department. We have advocates in our gang detail. We have advocates for our homicide detail. So I really look at other departments that don't work hand in hand with advocates and try and figure out how they go about their business, because I couldn't imagine doing my job now without the help of our advocates.
So I know the statistics are pretty rough for runaway and throwaway kids, and it's almost a given that if a girl leaves home more than once, that she will end up at some point being sexually exploited. So for those parents that and in fact this is true even in some intact homes, depending on the instability of the house. So for those parents that may be concerned about what's going on, what might be some of the signatures that they might look for in their household? You
have to take control of your kids' cellular phones and laptops. If you look back even 10 years ago, I didn't have a cell phone, but now with the broad use of smartphones and laptops, you really are on your smartphone carrying around a computer that was better than probably the first computers we had when we bought computers. So parents really need to take control and be nosy and look at the text messages, look at the websites, look at the people that their sons and daughters are talking to on their phone. There's a number of different apps so that these kids, my son helped me set up my iPhone when I first got it. I didn't know what to do, and he set it up. So that means to me that he's already able to go on the internet, to find stuff, to communicate with people, to instant chat with people. So parents really have to be nosy. They have to get involved. They have to know their teachers. They have to know their school resource officer at the schools. They have to know the parents and families that their kids are going to hang out with, because you only get one chance, and the pimp or the trafficker that's trying to find your kid or recruit your kid gets multiple chances on their phone all the time. So my number one suggestion is to have parents take an active participation in raising their kids. Be nosy. If your kids don't like it, so be it. It's your house.
Yeah, I also recommend that parents, and I've offended people over the times. I actually wrote a piece that was published in the Orange County Register a couple of years ago talking about the parental digital divide. And people say, well, I just don't understand technology. Well, you can take the time to watch television. You can take the time to watch, drama and follow these programs on television. You can take the time to learn about technology. If you don't, your kids are going to run you over and they're going to put themselves at risk. For those that don't understand how extreme it is, I mean, these kids are literally being advertised in public on internet websites. So give us an idea of how blatant this is.
It's blatant. There's a number of different websites that are used, and to be honest with you, I don't even want to give them free advertisement on your show.
Because we would probably blank it, but that's okay.
Yeah, but you can go on sites, and any city in the country you can look on and find people that are forcing people to advertise as escorts, but they're really just providing acts of prostitution. So it's so widespread that the minute we take down one website, another one picks right back up. Like, everybody thought this would end when Craigslist got rid of their adult services.
Yahoo groups back in the years ago,
and
there was a major one as well.
Yeah, correct. And there's so many that have just stepped up. So it's widespread. We find girls that are walking the streets in Anaheim. We find majority of the young women that we come in contact with off of the internet. We conduct undercover operations and try and come in contact with them there, and then that's where our investigation begins to try and find their pimps. So it is very well widespread, which is a shame because you're one click away from purchasing a human being, basically, and these pimps know that. And any city you go to, you just have to find these particular websites, and you'll be able to find girls that are as young as 11 years old for sale on the internet. And with slavery being abolished in this country, you would think that you wouldn't be able to do that. But in 2012, you can go on the internet and find people for sale now.
Well, with that said, I really want to thank you for coming in, Sergeant. I appreciate it. And
I appreciate
what
it.
you do for us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm Kevin McDonald, and with me tonight has been Sergeant Craig Freisen with the Anaheim Police Department's Vice Squad, and he is working to stop human trafficking in the city of Anaheim, and we're out.